ongoing obligation to declare interest. Remind members that this meeting will be recorded. So all mobile phones shall be switched off, not just in silent or airplane mode, as they may interfere with the recording. Tablet devices can be put on mute by pressing the F7 key followed by the F8 key. Yep. And overview of today's business, we'll have a departmental briefing on the consultation responses and the SL1 for the pollution prevention and control regulations. We'll consider a further SL1 and then SR, and we will also have a briefing from Assembly Research as we begin our consideration of evidence in our wind inquiry. So apologies, we have received apologies from Barry McAduff and Tom Elliott, and Cahoe's car's broken down, so he may be coming a bit late, and also Peter's going to be coming a bit late. We have not received any other apologies. Chairman's business, I think we just moved on. Draft minutes, members, at page 52.
No, Anna, we can't do that.
Oh, so of course, no, we can't. No. What we'll do now, members, then is go to item 10, and that's at page 193, members. Page 193. Yep. Then, members, this is an SL1. Why are we starting with this SL1? Oh, because, yes, we're having people, we are getting a briefing. Okay, members, this SL1 is on pollution prevention and control individual emissions amendment regulations 2014. The department carried out a public consultation exercise on these regulations, which ended on the 7th of April, and there was only one substantive response which raised no objections but which did highlight some practical issues. The transposition deadline for this directive is the 5th of June this year, and as it creates new offences, it must be cleared by the executive, and the regulations made by the draft affirmative process following a debate in the Assembly. Since the committee has not yet been aware of either the outcome of the consultation or the content of the regulations, we now have a departmental official here to brief us on this issue. If I can welcome Dan Kennedy.
Thank you.
From the department, if you can go through this with us and answer questions from members afterwards.
Okay, perhaps if maybe I would summarise just the letter that we sent to you, and if you wish then to raise questions, if that's what you like me to do.
If you can quickly maybe go through the letter. Yes, okay. The main points. Yeah.
Okay. Well, key points really are that we intend to bring forward a statutory rule which will transpose in part Articles 14.5 and Articles 5 and 9 of the Energy Efficiency Directive. This directive was adopted on the 25th of October 2012, and it's pursuing a target of a 20% energy efficiency reduction target. DETI has the overall responsibility for this directive. However, the department, along with other devolved administrations, decided it was the best way forward in terms of those elements that were affected by those articles. Those include, and those industrial sources are already covered by current industrial and emissions directive legislation in Northern Ireland, and those are the objective. The objective of the articles is to promote energy efficiency in heating and cooling through the requirements on developers of certain installations above 20 megawatts, to consider opportunities for cogeneration, recovery of waste and supplying of heat to district heating and cooling networks. The amending regulations require new power stations, newly refurbished industrial installations or new district heating networks to investigate whether we think it would be beneficial to use the waste heat that's recovered for other purposes, such as providing it to an industrial source or to a district heating network. Enforcement authorities may grant permits allowing installations to operate without using cogeneration in certain circumstances, but they must notify the Commission by written notification if they wish to do so. As you said, there was an 8-week consultation. Only one substantive comment was received, and this is, I think, similar to the rest of the other administrations. And it was raised by the glass industry, where they were in agreement with energy efficiency, and they believe that they're energy efficient themselves. But they also highlighted some technical issues in that particular industry as to how they would go about heat recovery. The financial implications for Northern Ireland were considered, and the net present value cost over the 10 years spread over 22 affected businesses would be in the region of 360,000 over the 10-year period. I think that really takes the key points.
Okay, thank you. Dan, sorry, say that again. Over the 10 years, I'm trying to find a bit, you say. Over the 10 years, is it estimated this new requirement would affect, is that right, 22?
22.
Installations.
Yes, but that is an estimate.
And sorry, what's the cost for that, you said?
Costs are estimated to be 360,000 over that 10-year period, spread over the 22 businesses.
Okay, okay. Well, I think, we certainly, we are all for, I think, more efficiency on using our energy. I'm just a bit concerned about how much a burden you think that's going to be for. Well,
the burden has been worked out as between 0.03% and 0.7% of a business's gross operating surplus, and also the benefit then would be in reduced fuel costs as well. We haven't quantified that, but that's a broad estimate.
Okay. And it's more when they're installing new techniques,
it would be,
is that right?
Either if it's a new one, it places an onus on the operator or the developer to consider these amendments, and to where it's been substantially refurbished, but only where the cost exceeds 50% of building a new plant. Okay. So we don't anticipate any immediate effect in those 22 businesses at the moment. No. It's only where they would consider a substantial refurbishment, and that refurbishment, as I said, would need to be more than 50% of a new plant.
Sure, I think that should be encouraged, really. Members, anyone any questions for Dan? Happy with that? Okay. Then can we ask members? I don't know if we can ask members to.
I don't think we can. Can't agree it.
I know we can, but we just get your.
We could just note it for the time being.
We'll note it, and maybe at the end of the meeting, if we can go back to it when we have a quorum. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you. So,
want to move on to our inquiry papers?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah. We can. It's Sue about. Oh, Sue's there. Sorry, Sue. Sitting in the corner there. Members, then, if we go to item 12, that's page 208. At the last meeting, we agreed to schedule a number of oral briefings before the summer recess. No, we can't agree on the plan for the inquiry, but yeah. Sorry?
You might want to comment on it.
Yeah. Or just maybe to bring members' attention then to page 208. That's the schedule we plan to hold our the briefings. So I think more or less, we are on quite a tight time scale. And I think it is maybe, members, can you take note that anyone any particular maybe concerned about it? I think we really need to schedule those more or less as it is. But we need to wait for quorum to decide on that, just for members to note. Next item, and that's just for member to note as well, in the meantime, that's page 209, there's the Scottish Government policy on wind turbines. That's quite interesting, actually. And the next one also, another one is the transcript from the Oireachtas Committee, page 219 to 355. I confess I haven't read everything on those pages, but more or less I think the same issues were raised by people going to the committee and expressing their views, mostly about the effect on communities and the cumulative effect on communities as well, the closeness to residential areas. So quite similar to concerns raised here. So we have also tabled for yourself the synopsis of responses. We have an intern who had done a great job and had put them into tables for all of us to look at, so just for members to note. So if we now moved on then to the briefing from Susie, there are 2 assembly research papers in your meeting pack. The first one is at page 356. At page 356, and that's on wind farm community benefits. Is something we are, quite interested to know more. And another paper Susie has prepared for us is on page 369, and that's on the cooperative wind farm schemes in Scotland. So look forward to hearing that as well. So Susie, if you want to start with community benefits, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the first paper is more of a background paper just on community benefits in general. The second, again, is more specific in relation to cooperative schemes, mainly in Scotland. If we just look at the first paper, it gives an overview of the different types of community benefits that are available. Now, with this, there are 4. So they can be in the form of community funds, benefit in kind, local supply, and cooperative schemes. I tried to find a comparison of the levels of community benefit offered in Northern Ireland with other jurisdictions, and found that most comparisons relate to the community funds offered by projects. This begins on the second page of the paper. The community fund is calculated in terms of pounds per megawatt of installed capacity to be paid per year. The level of fund offered by projects appears to vary across jurisdictions. In England, the minimum has been increased to £5,000 per megawatt per year, following a UK government consultation in 2012. The Scottish Government is also promoting a national rate equivalent to at least £5,000 per megawatt per year. However, in Northern Ireland, there is no national rate. The Northern Ireland Renewables Industry Group does, however, recommend a lower figure of £1,000 per megawatt per year in their Community Commitment Protocol. My research by the Fermanagh Trust have found that only 1 out of 14 wind farms in their study located in Northern Ireland had a community fund of £2,000 per megawatt or more. And in fact, the majority were much lower, with 11 of the 14 between £500 and £1,000 per megawatt. If we turn to the case studies, which begin on page 6, some projects offer their fund per turbine. The problem with this is that the fund may not be proportionate to the size of the actual turbine. Some projects offer £1,000 for a large turbine of, say, 1.3 megawatts, compared to others who are offering maybe £2,000 for a much smaller turbine of around 250 kilowatts. And just to put this into context, kilowatt is 1,000 times less than a megawatt. It also became evident from the research that there is a lack of community benefits register in Northern Ireland, similar to one that operates in Scotland. It has been suggested that this would not only help to monitor the amount of funds offered throughout Northern Ireland, but it would help to formalise the process and give more transparency and contractual certainty to communities. However, it's worth noting the Scottish Government Register is only a voluntary one. The final part of the paper looks at examples of community benefits in other countries, such as Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands and the United States. However, I found that a number of studies highlight those offered in Denmark. This includes the loss of value scheme. Any project with turbines of 25 metres or more must pay compensation if turbines cause more than 1% loss of property value. Now, in summary of the process described on page 9, which gives more detail, the developer can enter into a voluntary agreement with those claiming a loss in value. If this doesn't happen, however, those claiming must notify EnergyNet, who have the property assessed by an accredited valuation authority, in terms of the extent of the loss of value. For successful claims, the valuation authority costs are paid by the developer. For unsuccessful ones, EnergyNet pay the costs and recoup it from the electricity consumers as a public service obligation contribution. The other is the option to purchase scheme. Again, this applies to any development with turbines over 25 metres high, where at least 20% of the wind turbine project must be offered to the local population. Anyone within 4.5 kilometres from the turbine or the municipality in which it is located has priority to purchase a share. The wind developer must hold an information meeting detailing the price of the shares on the offer and the liability per share. EnergyNet must approve the sales material as a condition for the wind turbine erector obtaining a price supplement provided for in the Danish Promotion of Renewable Energy Act. Let's move on to the second paper, where we're looking at cooperative schemes in Scotland. Cooperative schemes are where there is a local ownership or part ownership of the development by local people or community-based organisations, usually achieved by buying shares for sale. The majority of examples in the paper are owned by Falck Renewables Wind Limited. It's a European-wide renewable energies developer, which works in partnership with Energy for All, who set up and facilitate renewable energy cooperative projects throughout the UK. Due to this, most of the, I'll refer to them as just co-ops, operate under the same arrangements and principles. So as to avoid repetition, I will take you through one of the examples. Boyndy Wind Farm is located approximately 2 kilometres inland from the north coast of Aberdeenshire. It was built and commissioned in April 2006 and has a total of 8 turbines, each 2 megawatts and 1,000 metres from base to tip. At full capacity, it can supply 8,500 to 9,000 homes, which cover nearly all the homes of the nearby town of Banff, the villages of Whitehills and Portsoy, and all nearby rural areas. The electricity produced by the farm flows through underground cables to a substation located on the site. From the substation, the electricity feeds into an existing electricity line without the need for any new overhead lines. The electricity is sold through a power purchase agreement, which is a contract between the wind farm and those wishing to buy the electricity. As I said, the wind farm is owned by Falck Renewables, and in 2005, Energy for All set up the Boyndy Co-op to buy a share in the wind farm in 2006. Currently, the co-op has 722 members, each with a shareholding ranging from £250 to £20,000. Each share is worth £1, and the minimum investment is £250, so as to ensure broad membership. The limit is £20,000. All members have one vote, regardless of the number of shares they hold, and they receive annual interest on their investment. The Co-op is an industrial and provident society registered with the Financial Services Authority, where members are then protected by limited liability status. Its constitution is rules approved and registered under the Financial Services Authority. The governance of the Co-op is vested in the board, which is elected by members and formed from members and is elected each year by postal ballot. If the Co-op wishes, they can allocate a community fund for Energy Conservation Trust to promote energy conservation in the local community. Now, the paper explores a number of other examples. However, as I stated before, they're all part of the Energy for All group and operate in a similar fashion. I'm aware, however, of a recent development in Northern Ireland on which I've only just received information on, and therefore it is not in this paper, but I can give members a brief overview of it now.
Yes, please. Yeah, I've heard about that too. I was at the APG on Co-op.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that a number of months ago.
Yes, it's called the Drumlin Cooperative, and it gets assistance from Energy for All as well with NRG Solutions. Now, they construct, own and operate the wind turbines at 4 separate sites, each with a single turbine of 250 kilowatts. Now, the sites are Ahad and Cavan O'Neill in Pomeroy, which both began operation just recently this year. There's one in Larne, which is to start operating in June, and then one in Parkgate in Kells, which is to start in August. The co-op was formed back in 2012 and supported by Energy for All. It raised the required funds of 2.7 million through a public share offering, enabling local people and beyond to become members by purchasing shares. So with no form of government subvention, the co-op also secured a loan of 340,000 from Ulster Community Investment Trust to raise the required total of 3.1 million that was needed to buy the 4 separate wind turbines. Now, the co-op, again, is an industrial and provident society, and again governed by its own rules, which are approved by DEDI. These rules stipulate that all members have one vote regardless of how many shares they hold, and can hold no more than £20,000 of shares, with a minimum, again, of £250. The Board of Members is voted by members and ensures that any issues and plans are put to the local community to decide. Once turbines are operational, all the electricity generated is sold to the electricity markets through a power purchase agreement, and the co-op will also receive income through the renewable obligation system. Now, the actual level of income will depend on the level of wind at each site and the operational efficiency of the wind turbines. After payment of operating costs such as the maintenance, the rent, insurance and administration costs, any surplus profits will be available to distribute as a share interest payment to members of the co-op. Again, there will also be a community fund available, and this will start at £2,000 per site. So from year 4, the co-op intends to repay a portion of share capital each year. It's expected all members' original investment will be paid in full by year 21. Energy for All is not a for-profit organisation. They take a percentage from the co-op for administration of the shares and use this to fund their next initiative. In fact, the Drumlin Co-op has launched a second share offer, which just closed yesterday, to raise up to 1.2 million for a further 2 sites, one in Ballyrobert, County Antrim, and one in Cavannakill, County Armagh, again with a 250 kilowatt turbine. So again, I'm happy to write up this information and supply it to the committee, and if there's any other areas, members.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Susie. I think really, I suppose we all would want to see greener energy, and as far as the technology goes, modern technology goes, wind turbine seems to be the cheapest way of getting electricity. But obviously there are concerns locally about the aesthetic side to it, but also noise and all sorts of things. So I'm interested to hear you said about in England that they start compensating people from for the drop in the value of their houses, of the house here.
That's in
Because
Denmark.
here the kind of the result in Denmark. Sorry. Because they've always, or we've heard developers saying, "Oh, there's no such thing, that we won't anticipate house prices, low dropping because of wind turbine," and then communities saying, "No, that's very much the evidence." And so in Denmark they do that.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is a fair, then an independent evaluation of the value of the house.
Yeah, they're accredited by I think there's 5 in total that they use, and they're approved by the minister.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure what the process is for them to get accredited though.
Yeah. I think that is maybe one way that people feel less aggrieved that they've done nothing wrong and they just live in the house, and then suddenly the house, you know, price drops and then, you know, or they can't sell and yeah. Members, any other questions you would like to ask Susie? Very comprehensive now. Thank you again, Susie.
Okay.
Really interesting. Really interesting. So, Lord Morrow, any questions for
No,
Susie?
I think, Mr. Chairman, yes, it is. That's fine. No, I don't want to ask. There was one rattling through my head, but I'll refrain just for the moment because it mightn't be very positive, you know. But anyway, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Susie. Thank you. Oh dear. We might have to adjourn this meeting, members, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay. Members, if we suspend for another 5 minutes or so, we just have a cup of coffee and we'll just ring round to just chase up some members. We only need one more.
That's provided nobody leaves.
I know. I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
We have done our.
What time will we come back?
For
at
5
now?
minutes, members? 5 minutes?
minutes, yes,
Madam Chair?
Back at 10 past.
Yeah, back at 10 past, yeah.
10 pounds.
10 past is nearly. We'd
There's
maybe
a 3
take a
minutes.
quarter past.
Say quarter past then.
Quarter
Quarter
past.
past, yeah. A cup of coffee and comfort break. I thought that